Hi guys, this is FNGR, and it's been over a month since the last King of LImbo. Special thanks to empty-brooke, who is now on a art hiatus. Special thanks to Keychi FIM and the Lilac Galaxy for co-hosting. Don't forget to check out How Not to Brony, as well as my analysis triple shot. Next time, we'll be having a super show for Melody Sketch, joined by Keychi FIM, Luximus, as well as Toon Kritic, and the esteemed, touted, vaunted, illustrious, and often imitated, never duplicated, Dark Edge, aka Tuxedo Chicken. Thank you.
This is a bad time.
This is DJ Chi, spitting
DJ
on the
Chi.
ones and twos. Wiki wiki.
Wiki, indeed.
Briny.
You need to introduce him as Briny.
Indeed.
Briny Bick.
Briny Bick. I'm Pickle Rick.
I'm Briny Bick.
I'm Briny Bick.
Let me open up freaking... Hopefully Brawny's questions haven't fucked off to the ether. That would piss the shit out of me.
Hello, Brony.
Hi, Brawny.
Greetings.
Greetings indeed.
It's been a while, Briny Bick.
I think, Brawny, that your shit's all been working this time. You just didn't want to talk to any of us.
You sound just as clinically depressed as I remember.
No,
No, it was instantaneous. As soon as I closed out all those groups, my computer started working a lot better, and then Dulcet showed me a couple of other things to help it get running a little bit better. I just don't know if I try to come back to those groups, if it'll go back to doing the same thing again.
Get your picture. No, I'd like to state for the record, what's written on your t-shirt was my artist's idea. Now, you're familiar with Citizen Kane, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's what this is inspired by.
It's a good picture.
It is a good picture. The color
I
isn't
wonder
in
if I would get the reference without you telling me that. Let's see what we got here. It's loading.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking its sweet gosh darn time.
Oh, yeah, no, it will.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
Look at your shirt.
Ask me about my pony Sona.
That was all Brooke's idea. If you don't believe me, I don't believe it either, but I actually, honest to God, did not come up with that idea.
You look like a freaking, like you're running for president.
He looks like a college professor. He's got like one of those, like, pan me down, like, suit jackets.
And here we have the Brody specimen.
Make MLP great again.
Indeed.
Oh, geez, implying it ever wasn't. How dare you?
Oh, indeed.
I'm gonna sketch in a freaking Trump hat on your OC.
Sure.
Oh, God.
Well, we're not going to use that, the non-colored. It is, for a non-colored version, it's absolutely immaculate.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah. I'm going to skip around here on my questions. Who is your favorite Brony content who are your favorite Brony content creators these days?
The animators. When Animated James was active, I really liked him. Right now, Brutal Weather, I think, has the best animations in the fandom at the moment. In terms of musicians, I listen to a ton of Artem Yegorov, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And Brony content creators in terms of reviewers and analysts, I like Silverquill a lot. My subscriptions here, because what I'm going to do with a question like that is forget just about everything. It's like one of those tell a joke things.
Yeah, don't feel bad. Answering Silverquill used to be a meme for the podcast.
Golden Fox makes really good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Really like British Ninja stuff.
I used to like British Ninja stuff when he had stuff.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything in a little bit.
I think the last thing he was involved in was the freaking collab with Josh, but I hadn't seen anything after that.
Ah, crap, that counts. Damn it all.
Yeah, that counts.
I know it does.
By our own rules.
I know. Well, you made that rule, and I'm just gonna go with it.
We all agreed. That means it's ours.
Yeah.
Forever Free Brony. If going back to the musicians here, I'm just scrolling through my subscriptions right now, and
you don't have to go up and down.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're good here.
And you're gonna hate me, but I like Ty and Daga and Looney Turtle, so
why would I not like Ty and Daga?
We like Ty and Daga.
Yes.
Well, I had a feeling that mentioning the Looney Turtle was gonna trigger you.
Oh no, I'm triggered that you thought I'd be upset about Ty and Daga. I'd like to say I found Ty and Daga, but technically I found him through EQD. But I did find him when he was like dirt nothing, when he had like 200 subs, and I was like, this guy's gonna be something.
Bronny, you don't understand. FNGR thinks Looney has talent. He's just a fucking personality.
Yeah, I have sat down and talked with the Looney Turtle after, everybody else in the... I'd like to point that out. When, Looney's like, oh, troublemakers. It was like, the troublemaker mod is the only one who wants to talk to you. The only one.
I agree that Looney has talent, but not enough talent to want to deal with his personality.
I feel like the other modding staff should be arguing with me, but no, they're right. time and time. Moving along. Name 3 standout episodes of Season 7 and any low points.
Season 7 had more episodes in it that I didn't enjoy.
Ooh, really?
than any other season.
Really?
Yeah, but I'd say about half. And then before that it was season 6. So let's see, high points. Celestial Advice and All Bottled Up.
Mm-hmm. Good strong start.
Yeah, I watched those and thought, whoever was observing my life to write these episodes needs to stop and take a few steps back. It was uncomfortable how closely I related to those episodes.
There's a lot of bronies, I think, that identify with All Bottled Up and, packing things down. And I can think, there's so many examples it's not worth calling anyone out for. It really isn't.
But then we got done with that, and right on we moved into Flurry of Emotions, where Twilight dropped the ball on the lesson of that episode so hard that it's almost like I can't even off the top of my head come up with an apt metaphor for it.
What was the I forget what
that was the one where she was babysitting.
No, I know what it was about, but what was the lesson?
I think that she came to the conclusion she shouldn't yell at a baby.
But she barely did.
Yeah.
She did right at the end after letting Flurry Heart get away with murder through the whole episode. And then as soon as she did, I was like, okay, we're making progress here. Now we're trying to teach this child something.
It's
and then she
baby,
backtracks
Brawny.
on it right away. I know, and that confused the heck out of me the first time I saw it. I was like, where do we draw the line? Basically, how old is this child? And it's really ambiguous because
I think it's implied, she's probably like the mindset of a 2-year-old right now.
Yeah,
that'd be my guess.
She can't talk.
Yeah, not old enough to talk. But she's old enough to even the Pound and Pumpkin Cake, they were able to move around and they were just kind of boring. So I'm good.
Horses.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess 1 or 2.
Yeah.
In pony years.
Oh, there's a big difference between a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old.
So
you can actually start teaching a 2-year-old things or a 3-year-old things, and they seem to go back and forth on that, and that's what threw me off about that episode initially. But Dulcet, I talked to him because I was so confused about what to say about that episode, and he said, yeah, they learn at a very young age, but what you don't want to ever do, and this is what I was saying, is backtrack like you did, because it makes you as the authority figure not look like an authority figure.
Well, in your opinion then, Brawny, how important is the moral in the factoring how much you enjoy the episode? Because would you say that you enjoyed it until you got to the end?
No, I would not.
Okay, so
because Twilight was dropping the ball through the whole episode.
Well, don't they usually drop the ball through most of the episode?
Yeah,
most of the time?
that is true, and that was what I was going to say next. And then she got to that point, and then she backtracked, and it was kind of like, okay, it looks like we're going to come out with a strong moral at the end of this anyway. And then she backtracked and said, okay, never mind, nope, the whole thing's lost.
Well, in that case, of not being stupid through the whole episode, how did you feel about the final in that case?
The finale?
Yeah, the last 2. Assuming you saw it, so I don't.
I did. It was very enjoyable. I did like how we got those old characters that we've been hearing about so much back.
Star Swirl's a dick, and I love it.
Yeah. We got a strong male character, and he's not lovable either.
It was very relatable how Twilight got sort of blinded by the presence of someone she admired.
Fangirling. That's the word you're looking for.
Oh, yeah, no. On top of everything else being fun, it was great to see that, hey, there's going to be times where you're around friends that are awestruck by somebody. And sometimes, even if you're not the most respected person in your group, you've got to be the one to speak up and going, hey, we know what we should be doing, and I know what we are doing. And they're going in 2 different directions.
But even that, it was a moral gray area, which I thought was really cool. It's not like Star Swirl was 100% wrong. It's Star Swirl did, and the rest of the Legends of Magic did exactly what they thought they needed to do at the time, and it was just and it worked, and it worked for what they had to do. But there was a better solution that they didn't know about, and then they had to learn about it from that, which is something that they established at the very beginning of the season with Celestial Advices. Sometimes even the teachers need to learn from their students.
Well, it's good to see. Let's see here. What would you say was Flurry of Emotions your least favorite, or what?
Yeah, that was definitely up there this season. And I'm strolling through. I really liked Fluttershy Leans In for the representation of Fluttershy's progress as it was, but there was virtually no conflict in that episode, so it wasn't as objectively or subjectively rather enjoyable for me. But I did really like the metaphors of it.
Which one was that? Was it the Nature Reserve episode or
okay,
some other one?
Fluttershy
Fluttershy
Leans In is the one where basically they send her friends and then Fluttershy treats them like crap and gets off on it. Or gets away with it.
The thing is, they didn't listen to her at all when she told them exactly what she wanted.
I got that too, but there's a point where you kind of have to, if you want to endear your friends, you can't just go, you're an idiot, or you can't just scream at them and tell them to go.
Well, the point I made when I did my video on that episode was completely different. It was that when you get down to it, Fluttershy's ideas weren't that great to begin with.
Nope, they weren't.
They're kind of impractical, weren't they?
Bright idea.
To me, it's more like she thought of this pretty idea, and on paper she thought it looked fine. And then she went to people who knew more about how to make those things, and I think it should have been on them to point out, hey, this thing is not going to work because they're the professionals. She is not.
I'm used to going to my experts or the people I trust in this community, and the ones that can pull off my vision are the ones I go back to, and if they come close enough, you gotta have a little give and take, especially when you have a crazy idea. Sometimes people can hit it on the head, and sometimes they can't. And we have a fandom that has a lack of patience, so I don't. Maybe it's just me. I didn't like the idea of encouraging, well, you can crap on people who don't give you exactly what you want.
Well, the thing is, it's not that they just didn't give her what they want. They were treating her like she was an idiot because they thought they knew better, but they weren't even trying to even somewhat go for what she was doing.
To be fair, they did know better.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you have someone who has, a pretty clear image of what she wants, and then they're like, okay, we're gonna ignore every single thing you're talking about and do what we want. I can't blame her for being mad.
Now you're reminding me of that one artist who screwed up the picture. Gotcha.
I've been in that situation before as a professional where somebody has an idea, and what I've run into more often than not, being a photographer and a videographer, is that people will want things done within a certain budget. But when it comes to photography and videography, there is a direct correlation to price and quality. So the things that you need to be able to do, like if you want these big sweeping jib shots, well, you got to order a jib. Renting a jib probably costs several $100s a day. You got to have a camera with internal stabilization, with the right lens, with a wide enough, you need remote controls, you need all these things. And you can tally up tens of thousands of dollars just renting equipment in a day. And then people are like, well, how about you do it handheld? Okay, I can do it handheld, I suppose. So I go and I do it handheld, and then they come back and say, it looks terrible. Well, it looks terrible because it's handheld. and you didn't want to rent the stabilizer. You got to do what the client asks you to do. Just make sure that they understand that it's on them when it doesn't come out the way they wanted to. You can advise, but you definitely should not change, especially without any kind of consultation like those professionals did in that episode.
Yeah, it was like she asked for those little nest things. They gave her cages. She asked for brown and neutral natural colors. They gave her polka dot. She asked for kind of an open, naturey looking thing. They start making a building.
Gotcha.
So I can't blame her for being frustrated. And then when she called them out on it, they pushed back as if they're not wrong at all.
I gotcha.
I just can't blame her for that. Some people are like, well, she should have known this and that. I was like, no, she shouldn't have known anything about construction. That's why she got the professionals.
Right. That was one of those episodes where I kept thinking it was going to go in one direction and create a conflict, but it didn't.
Yeah.
And then Fluttershy pretty much had the whole thing figured out along the way, which is what I said earlier, that particular episode had virtually no conflict. So subjectively, it was kind of boring.
Yeah.
But objectively, I understand what it was supposed to be, and from that, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah. What I think what should have happened was they try and push back, and then she insists on what she wants. They give her what she wants, and then it doesn't work.
Yep.
That's what should have happened.
Yeah, that would have been a really interesting episode.
So yeah, what are your thoughts on the movie then, high and low?
I thought the movie had a pretty basic script, but it was solid. I didn't have any real problems with it, except Gruber, but I think that was everybody's problem with it.
Wait, which one's Gruber?
Zukazama.
The fat dumb sidekick for
Yes.
The hedgehog.
The thing to make Tempest look like less scary to the children.
At least I think it's a hedgehog.
I think so.
Yeah.
Favorite character?
The Storm King.
I liked him. I thought he was fun. It's a shame he's not coming back.
Oh no,
because he's dead.
Yeah, they straight killed him.
Yep, and that's something that MLB doesn't do.
You can't show that on TV.
Well, not since Sombra anymore.
Yeah, I know, and that was the running gag. We'll never do that again. They do it again.
No, he was a statue.
Well, I mean, theoretically, they let the Dazzling starve to death over a slow period. So,
that's true.
So that's like 5.
We need to see the Dazzlings again. That's for sure. Which we technically did, but
kinda.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I'd be cool with them back in Equestria. If you could give Keychi FIM some brief lifetime advice, and bear with me.
Are you serious?
You being a worldly man who's experienced, and share some of your Brawnyism with her to make her a better person. All right, never mind.
You are such a malicious troll.
I am. So anyways, I did have that written down. That was 5.
Jesus.
I know. Just imagine if she wasn't here, we would have got an answer. From your friend.
Use your powers for good, Keychi.
Indeed.
What if I don't wanna?
Yeah.
Well, then you'll have to deal with me.
Oh.
So what are you gonna do?
Of course you know that this means war.
Indeed. From your friends in the fandom, who are you the most proud of? And conversely, who are you, let's say, less so?
Who let you down the most?
I thought I worded it very gently, where if you could choose to pass, it wouldn't be a big deal.
I'm surprised you're asking me that question, because you probably know the answer.
I know, but do my fans know the answer?
If they watch some of your older podcasts, they would.
Huh? For Brawny? Huh?
Well, yeah, that goes without saying. Of those who have let me down the most, that's definitely Toon Kritic.
I thought you were going to say Theory.
I was never friends with Theory.
Oh, I didn't know.
I could tell some funny stories about Theory. At least they're funny in retrospect. They weren't funny at the time.
I'm well aware of Theory becoming damn near homeless and trying to do everything.
To be honest, I didn't know you were friends with Toon Kritic.
Well, at one point I would have said so. Now that's why that one How Not to Brony I was leaning into him so hard, is because I put that effort forward because I thought we were friends. And then he came right to my face and said that he was basically, or not even just basically, that he used me to get through that situation and had no intention of actually doing anything. That's absolutely no good. I don't respond well to that.
To be fair, Brawny, you were like, I would tell you the same thing to Fallen Wish afterwards, and then she came to you and you kind of tucked tail.
In what way?
in the way that she came up. I'm pretty sure she showed up in the comments section of that video. Well, I'm sure that account's deleted by now, but
okay, well, you see, I didn't know about that.
No, I told you about this, and we laughed. I'm like, okay, whatever, we're just gonna let it die. But since you brought it up again,
Well, like I said, I thought you knew the answer. But
Okay, no, I'm just being completely honest here. Like, I mean,
I did enjoy working with him the few times that I did, and I thought we were friends, and then he pulled that.
Look. I'm well aware of Toon Critic's shortcomings, but I'm just putting it in perspective. Yeah. Keychi, am I wrong by saying Fallen Wish is a worse person than Toon Critic? Like,
you are not wrong.
No, thank you. But
let me level with you, Brody. He makes his mistakes, but he is not the worst person in the world because he decided to not do what you told him to do in his life.
Yes, I know that some of those shortcomings will eventually catch up with him. We're all waiting on that too. We're all waiting on that too. Yeah.
That wasn't what I said though.
Yeah,
it was the dishonesty and the admission to being used that I said it was not okay. Aside from that, there was a part B to that question: is who am I the most proud of?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. There's a few. I got a few friends that I grew really close to over the time here. Mostly because I've been helping them out. My friend Scan was my first friend in the Brony fandom. And when I met him, he was on some pretty hard times, and we just stuck it through, and I helped him figure those situations out, and he's doing really well for himself right now. Caps Lock went through some stuff, and I helped him get through that, and he's doing pretty good for himself right now. And he was helping me with my videos for a while. He had to take a break from that, which is part of the reason why A Buck to the Face has been on hiatus for a couple of months now.
Oh, okay.
But he's getting better and doing good in school. And then my friend Concert Cruiser, who you guys recently let into the Secret Rift, if I heard correctly.
He's in there.
Yeah. I met him through the Grand Brony Gala, the Florida convention that I helped to run. He came on as a volunteer for the media team, which I was in charge of. So he came on as a student of mine, and I had to teach him basically everything I knew about photography, and he picked up to it really well. And when he started making videos, he's been coming to me a lot for writing advice, and then I helped him. I've been showing him how to work his audio and starting to teach him how to edit. So now that he's starting to come up and get more opportunities to expand his content within the fandom, that's really cool.
Say, Keychi, since we mentioned him, or he just got brought up, we haven't any complaints about him, right?
No complaints, but I have noticed he doesn't know how to handle himself around quote-unquote horse famous people yet.
Well, that it happens. There's a couple of bright-eyed.
That's why I said, that takes time.
Yeah, no, we were all a little spaghetti once upon a time ago, except Keychi.
Yeah. No, I was too. No, I just remember.
I ambushed you with Silver Quill, and you held it in pretty good.
Keychi just emerged from the void.
Yeah.
No, I remember once he was in one of the rooms and Golden Fox got added in, and he was like, "Oh, Golden Fox, I thought he was too busy for stuff like this," and I was like, "Dude, he maybe just didn't want to talk to you."
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I've had to talk to him about that a couple of times. And he like one time, Golden Fox snapped back at him because he tried to get a hold of him in all these different ways at the same time, and I said, "You pestered him. You can't do that."
Yeah, like he has a tendency to pester, but I think he'll learn with time.
That was another thing. He was like sitting there saying, "Could you tell him, what was it? Toon and me and Brony are different people," and I was like, "He doesn't dislike you because of that. Toon has no problem. Yeah, Toon has no problem poaching friends if he thinks you're fun."
Yeah, that sounded. If I were to give you one thing for him, is don't be nice to him. If you sugarcoat things, he's not going to get what you mean. You got to be as blunt as possible if you need to correct him on something.
I'm slowly looking at Keychi and saying, he just told us that, Keychi. That
I know. I was like, that's Brony telling us that. Okay.
Okay. That was a blank check, ladies and gentlemen. I don't really dislike him. I went out of my way to be cool with him because I liked his videos. There was that hiccup at BronyCon, but we'll put that behind us.
Yeah, like I don't dislike him, but I don't want him creeping people out.
Yes. Well, that's
right. So if he starts, just tell him straight on right away. And see, because I did the same thing. Because when I'm teaching people, I tend to have the same expectations of them as I have of myself, or even slightly less. But I put a lot of people off like that, so I try to rein it back. But when I was teaching him, And the first few times, and this is, I'm almost surprised that him and I are friends, and I'll tell you this story. Because the first few times we were working in the Grand Brony Gallery, we were doing photography, we had to put up a couple of backdrops for people to come and use. And I showed them how to raise the backdrop stands, and I showed him a few times. I was like, okay, no, you can't do that. You got to do it like this, otherwise you might break it. And then they did that 3 times, and then we're at show night, and he does something wrong, and I can't remember exactly what, but he almost broke these backdrop stands that I had rented from my employer of the time. With it being show night, I was already on edge, and I walked right up to him and I grabbed him by the collar and I said, "Why are you incapable of following basic instructions?"
You were gonna be that dad.
And and he was mad at me for months about that because he thought I called him stupid, which is not the words that I used, but
the words that you meant.
Maybe not quite the exact ballpark.
So,
Maybe not the phrasing, but the meaning.
and I refused to apologize for that, and I said I bet you will never mess up putting up a backdrop ever again. And that's true. In fact, him and I were just last weekend were filming another video that him, me, and our friend Evan from Mystery Brony Theater 4000 are going to be in. We just got done filming that, and he put up the backdrop, his own backdrop stands, perfectly fine. You know, so it sucks that you have to do that sometimes, but sometimes it works.
Okay, duly noted.
Let's do a fun one. Who has the best OC design and who has the worst OC design?
Oh, my favorite.
Well, let's see here. The top tier OC designs are definitely anybody with a brown color palette.
I'm inclined to agree.
Oh, okay. Of course you would.
Yeah,
This is okay because I have a brown horse.
Okay.
Team Brown Horse. Suck it, Anthony.
Yeah. Let me think about that for just a second.
For the worst.
Yeah, who's the worst?
Worst is hard to describe. I don't know anybody in our fandom specifically that has
really?
like a.
Here, I'll make it even a little bit harder. No Pony Crater because that's too easy.
Yep.
Right. That's okay. When I just remembered when Brick Brony first came in.
It's still pretty bad.
Was physically difficult to look at. It physically hurt because the contrast of the red and the blue was so high. The red was just the brightest possible red, and the blue was like a deep navy. And then he had this neon yellow gradient on the legs that went up into the navy blue of the rest of his body. And it physically hurt my eyes to look at, and I told him that, and I said this was when he was in the rift, and we got in a call. I said, okay, let's walk through this. Let's see if we can adjust the colors a little bit here, and we did, and then he got it to where it is now, with where everything's a little bit where the colors are a little bit more muted. Generally, I don't like colors on the opposite ends of the color wheel being put together.
No, you mean complementary colors.
Yeah.
I'm a slut for complementary colors.
Yeah, sometimes it can work. Like DeWilstonator's got the same exact thing. He's blue with a red vest and brown hair, just like Brick Brony. Of course, he came before Brick Brony, so however you want to phrase that. But because it's a little bit lighter and there's not as much contrast, it can work in some contexts.
Yeah.
And you're willing to look past it because it's Will and he has a lot of personality.
I googled Brick Brony, and one of the top images is FNGR screaming at him.
Keychi, you people called me up. You people.
I'm not saying you were wrong. I'm just saying.
No. I was asleep. Keychi texted me, "Get on Skype right now. It's important. You, Kitty, and Spirited Rainbow. We need you to deal with Brick Brony."
It was necessary. that was a necessary meeting.
People tell me I'm not about forgiving. I went out of my way to give Brick Brony a chance.
No, he was pissing the dog shit out of people.
I know he was. I should have listened to Ryan. Anyways,
He threatened to punch me in the face if
I would have liked to see that.
All right, Brony. I'm going to give you a guarantee. If you're ever fighting Brick Brony, you start to lose, I'm going to come up behind him and kick him in the balls.
I have no intention of fighting anybody, ever.
Okay, I'm just saying. For whatever reason, you're losing to Brick Brony. Hypothetically, I'll just come up behind him and cheap shot him.
Okay, so 2 weeks after I open a successful snow plowing business in hell, and that happens.
I have a checklist for how much I despise people. Brick, he might be at the no, he's been gone for too long. What's the worst con you've ever been to?
I did not particularly enjoy BabsCon 2016.
And that your bad one too, Keychi?
I don't feel like the lineup for events, panels was very interesting. Of course, I ended up missing just about everything I did want to see because I spent the whole time hanging out with the rest of the analysts, or I was just hanging out. I ended up hanging out with Sweetie Bloom and Heather Blossom and Louie and a few other people from that group for most of that weekend.
But you mean Fire Lily, right? Just clarifying for the audience.
Come again?
Fire Lily, correct?
I don't remember hanging out with Fire Lily.
Oh,
I think he said Louie, not Fire Lily.
Oh, my mistake. Sorry.
Yeah. But yeah, so it didn't have as much going for it. I did have a lot of fun there, but it didn't have that much. What really brought it down for me was the hotel. That year they had about half of it cordoned off because they were doing renovations. Why on God's green earth you would have a convention at a place where they're doing renovations is beyond me. And it was extremely expensive. And I walked into this hotel room, and there were 2 outlets in the whole thing, and we had to fit 5 of us in there. It was me, my brother, his girlfriend, Sweetie, that's 4, and Scan, and it was smaller at this 5-star hotel. The room, the double queen was smaller than another hotel I would go. So I usually go to Everfree Northwest, and I stay at this place called the SeaTac Crest Motor Inn. It's a motel, and for $40 a night, and the rooms are way bigger than what they were at BabsCon at the 5-star hotel, and they have a continental breakfast there, which this one did not. So it was just way more expensive for a less enjoyable experience. I still had a lot of fun there, but it was my least favorite if I had to pick one.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus. A lot of people didn't have fun at BabsCon last year. Let's see.
I heard this year was not that great either with everything that happened.
Mm-hmm. What's something in the fandom that used to be there that you miss?
I feel like in the older days of the fandom, when the fandom was younger, we had more animations.
We had more everything, I feel like.
Yeah, so that I would say that's something that I miss. But by the same token, our orchestral music and our voice acting has come a long way.
Yeah, because Hasbro can't send cease and desist orders on people voice acting.
Well, I'm with Anthony C in terms of the cease and desist orders. Is I would have, if I ever got one, I would have fought it tooth and nail, or I would have disregarded it entirely.
Some people don't have the money to do that. Like, that's Anthony C. Indeed, he probably has the money to fight that.
I want to be completely respectful.
I certainly don't have the money to do it either, but I still would have tried.
I would like to back this up, and I like to put the forward. I love Anthony C up and down. However, I do think that's a little bit of gamesmanship of, I'm off in Australia. Bring it, Hasbro. I want
Basically.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he feels comfortable out there.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm thinking. I was like, he has money and he's in Australia. He probably could fight it if he wanted. Most people in the Brony...
I'm definitely not known for having money, but I'm also more relatively known for not caring. Like, I might care Like if I get a letter in my YouTube inbox that says these things, I'm not gonna care. I'm gonna care when somebody's lawyer shows up with accompanied by an officer knocking on my front door to hand me papers. At that point, I might take things a little more seriously.
All right, I'm going to give you an example you may or may not understand. Now, you probably don't like the guy if you know who it is. Jim Sterling got taken to court by some low-rent budget video game company, and that cost him...
Story, yes.
Yeah. And if they were able to do that, and they didn't know what the fuck they were doing, I don't want to see what Hasbro could do.
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming they would know what they were doing. And that was several thousands of dollars.
And they would absolutely smash whoever they were against.
Yes.
Unless they had a really good team.
Yeah.
Indeed.
But,
and it could work. It could work one of two ways. Either yes, they would do that, or because they're so big, they're not going to bother. They got everybody because they got everybody with very minimal effort. So I don't know what would have happened if anybody would have actually make them try.
Yeah.
So that's you could be right. You could be right, but we have no way of knowing.
Yeah. The thing is, it takes a lot of work to do all those animations and pony animations and all those things for little to no money. Most of them probably looked at it and were like, well, it's not worth the fight. I'm going to go do something else that might make me money.
Indeed. And another thing that we have failed to mention so far is the case of, help me out, my friends.
Jan?
No, not Jan. It was the folks that looked like they were Disney, but with ponies.
I know who you're talking about. I thought they just quit, though. The couple.
They did quit. They did quit. And they quit because of the amount of time that they quit for professional reasons. It was not only the time, but it wasn't something that they felt they could add to their resume to help them professionally in the future. And I can vouch for this as well. Professionally, you can make fan art for just about anything except My Little Pony and show it to a potential employer as an artist, and they would say, and if it was good enough, obviously it would help your case. But the second there's like pony artwork in there, it completely negates your case. And I'll never fully understand why that is. But because like you think good art would
stigma against Brony.
Yeah, that's probably where I was going to lead up to, is that there is a stigma. But you'd think at some point in time, good art would be good art. And because of that, they didn't want them being bronies tarnishing their professional reputation, so they backed out from that. So that's unfortunate. But
it was a really, really good freaking...
Yes, it looked great.
God, that hurt. I remember asking them a lifetime ago, and they were back when people actually answered their YouTube DMs. I was like, hey, would you down with the podcast? And like, oh, we're just very shy. And I was like, okay, I do like your work, carry on. I wish I could remember their damn names, though. Couple that did a Discord or something, right, wasn't it?
Yeah, I want to say Discord and Harmony, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, Disney Quality Animation. Some of you guys, were they the one that did the Luna's something or other? I think so. No, nobody keeps up with the Brony fandom anymore in the podcast. You know what, maybe I'll edit that whole part out. Anyways, what's something in the fandom that you don't miss that you're glad is gone?
Anything about the fandom that I don't like is still a thing.
Okay.
What don't you like?
I don't like overly explicit artwork. So, and when I say artwork, I mean fan content of just about any medium, fan art, drawings, fan fiction.
You are aware that's with just giving the devil its due. That's how some of these artists make their money.
I understand. That doesn't. But the question was, do I like it?
No, I understand. No, that's fair too.
Yeah. So with that said, if it's overly grotesque and or sexual, it bothers me. I get bothered by, just general cringe in the fandom, people being unaware of themselves. There does seem to be a little bit more of that on average in the Brony fandom than I've seen in other fandoms that I've observed.
Lightning round, cringe is Brony. You don't have to answer that. I just thought it was funny.
Okay, I'll tell you this story.
No. There's a good example of that too, Brawny. There's a YouTuber by the name of Mr. Mediker. He was sitting there taking apart some philosopher Peterson something or other, and he was comparing his fans to like, you know, he's their worst fans are as terrible as the worst bronies you'll meet out there. That's like every fandom brony. You're only noticing it because it's like right in front of you. It's right under your nose and you could see it.
Yeah, and I was about to acknowledge that because Brony is really the only fandom that I've ever truly participated in. Others I've only really observed. I was into Steven Universe for a little bit, and I have a couple of friends that are Steven Universe fans, but they are at the same time stereotypical Steven Universe fans, all but one of them anyway.
Who's the good in?
I did a gaming stream with him recently. He's a friend of mine that I met through the Central Florida Bronies. Calls himself Proto, but his name is Josh or whatever.
Okay.
And yeah, so things like that. In terms of the cringiest, I could tell you a couple of stories. When I went to Everfree Northwest in 2014, I told everybody that I was going to be there. Now, granted, at the time, I only told about 1,000 people. Yeah, that's around what my subscriber level was at the time.
Okay.
So basically, I just said I made a video saying that I was going to be there. Here's what look out for the plate metal Sombra costume. So I'm walking around as King Sombra, and some guy comes up to me, and he says, "Hey, are you Brawny?" Yes, I am. And he starts talking to me about a fan theory he had that essentially boiled down to they used the same animation assets between two different episodes. One of them would involve Discord, and because of that, they happened at the same exact time. But Discord was warping things with his chaos magic to make sure that they happened at the same time, and it just made absolutely no sense. And my critique was don't make that video until you can make this make sense. And so that was pretty bad. And then at BronyCon this year, I was walking around to Sombra again, making that King Sombra Ruins BronyCon video. I think it's the last upload on my channel right now. And some guy comes up to me and says, "Give me your best Sombra voice." And okay, so I do my best impression of Sombra, which it has its good days and bad days. And he fires back with one that's, I would say, equally good, but in order to do that, he like put his arm around my shoulder and pulled me into his face to do it. And when he did it, he had the most rancid breath I'd ever seen in my life. Yeah,
It was so bad you could see it.
It was so bad I could see it. No, it was the worst breath I'd ever smelled in my life. That didn't come from a dog with tooth decay. I'm not joking. I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, that made me think of a specific brony. Moving right along.
And I broke character, which is very difficult to make me do, and said, "You need to go brush your teeth." And he thought I was joking. I said, "No, you need to you need to leave the convention right now and go rinse your mouth." And I walked away from that.
Nice. Later on, I'll have to ask Lilac if she's been to the dentist lately. Moving right along here.
Bitch.
Oh, okay. What was your knee-jerk reaction when you saw Equestria Girls come out then versus now?
I liked it then, and I like it now.
Okay.
I have no problem with it. I was a huge fan of humanized artwork. Even before that, most of the fan fictions I read were humanized. My favorite being The Journey of Graves, and I was always looking up like humanized artwork because I just thought it was really interesting, and to see it be official, I was looking forward to it. Yep.
Who's your favorite European brony?
European brony? That's awfully specific. Out of curiosity,
yes, that includes English and German.
Why are you asking me that?
Well, I don't know. There's a lot of them. We have a lot of we've got 3 European mods in the Secret Rift.
Yeah, almost half of the mods are European.
Well, that's a pretty odd distinction. When ANY was active, I really liked it.
I had a feeling you were going to say ANY. Anyways, let's see. You're a fairly physical guy, Brawny. What's the worst physical injury you've ever had?
Probably the one that made me wear this blazer. So basically, and I told this whole story in a video way back many years ago.
But, he's doing the OC, gotcha. I see.
No, because the reason I told that story and the whole reason my Pony Sona is designed the way it is, ask me about my Pony Sona.
Walked into it.
It is a reflection of what I went through to get to this point, and that story, that backstory was a lot was really just translation, and a lot of it was taken out for time, and a lot of it was taken out to or dumbed down to be so it would fit more within the universe of the format that I'm working in of ponies. But yeah, at one point in time, it was December of 2012 or January of 2013. I just had a really bad night. Everything was going straight down the tubes in my life. I had the carpet pulled out from under me and it was just one of those last straw things. And I figured I was gonna go outside and vent. And what ended up happening is I busted most of the bones in my body and threw out most of the joints and limped back to my apartment for some of it, crawled for the rest of it because at some point my legs just stopped working and I kind of just freaking pulled myself with one arm up to my room, up a couple of flights of stairs, went into my bed, passed out for 3 days, and then when I woke up I just didn't feel like doing anything anymore at all. So I thought and after that, of course, you screw yourself up like that, and don't do anything about it, your health takes a dive like really quickly. So yeah, I thought I was on my way out.
What exactly did you do?
I beat on some trees until I couldn't anymore. And when one part of me got broken, like when a hand or a foot got broken, I'd move on to the next part, and I repeated this until I basically had nothing left.
You Deadpooled it.
Yes, I worse than Deadpooled it. All right, because I started with my hands, and then it was my fingers from there, and my wrists from there, and my elbows from there, and my shoulders from there, and then I had and then I did the same thing to my legs, and when you lay in bed like that all that time, it throws your neck, shoulders, and hips out of alignment. And basically caused the scoliosis that I ended up dealing with right up until July of this year.
Psychotic episodes with Brawny Buck.
Yeah. And that was why I got more serious about making videos, really, is because I thought I wasn't going to live much longer. So just from the how quickly my health was failing and how hopeless the employment situation and life situation in general was. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to do something productive here with my last days. And then what ended up happening is I kept getting ideas for more videos. I was like, oh crap. Well, I can't, I can't, go down without finishing my work here. So I'll just make one more video, and I'll just make one more video. And here we are.
Nice. I feel dumb asking any more questions after that, because it's like things like, what's your worst Christmas gift that you've ever gotten? And it's not a good follow-up. I wasn't expecting that to be
serious.
So. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that to be that intense.
If you're at all up for the editing, I'm sure you could switch the questions around.
I think I've only ever done that like once or twice tops.
I don't blame you.
I was expecting you to like give like, oh, I pulled my groin. That's a real man's injury or some shit like that.
I did that back in February.
I've heard from one pro wrestler. He said I've broken everything in my body, and he's like, after a pulled groin, after you stub your toe afterwards, you want to break down and cry like a little girl, like it's the worst feeling you'll ever have in your life.
Pulled the grundle.
Not sure what to say. That was the worst. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you another story of the time I got messed up pretty badly.
No. Let's move on.
It'll be a little bit better, and that'll be easier.
Brony, do you know who you remind me of? The freaking host of the Pub Crawl podcast.
Oh, Cider. Yeah, no, Cider's crazy.
You remind me of fucking Cider.
I don't know Cider, so I'll just have to take
I'll put it to you this way. One of Cider's stories was how, he got stabbed one time, and it was beautiful. Then he's in America, and somebody's like, give me your money. And he's like, you're not going to stab me. And he did. And then he panicked and dropped the knife and ran off. He's like, thankfully I went to, the hospital and got patched up, yada, yada, yada. But no, yeah, I see your point, Keychi.
Yeah, I've been tagged with a knife a couple of times, but here's one for you that's a little bit better. When I was 15, I was upstairs at my parents' house, writing. I think I was working on a book. And my older brother, my biological older brother, not the one that appears in my videos, came up and he looks at me and goes, "Get off the computer, you electric heroin addict," because he thought I spent too much time on the writing on the computer. So with that guy, it's usually just a good idea to do what he says if you don't want a violent confrontation. So I did. I got up and I went for a bike ride, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna go see one of my friends who's, up the road a few miles. Just recently learned how to get to his house on my own. So I get on my bike, didn't wear a helmet on this particular day, and back when I was 15, I always wore this Italian baseball cap that my grandmother had brought me from Italy. And so I go up this really steep hill that's being repaved at the time, so you can probably see where this is going. So up this really steep hill that's getting repaved, it's nothing but gravel, and then down the really steep hill, and I'm going like 30 miles an hour down this hill. About halfway down, my hat blows off. I went, "Gosh darn it!" and I slammed on the brakes.
Ooh.
Completely forgetting that inertia was a thing.
Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
30 miles an hour at a 45-degree angle. Actually, it was probably steeper than that. I don't exactly remember. But I went straight over those handlebars. Face first, gravel, slide for about 5 feet. Finally figure out what's going on, put my forearm down, slide for another 5 feet. Roll a couple of times, bike hits me in the back of the head, it totally rips it up. And then crashes several feet down the hill some more. And I'm just laying there, and I hear this car coming up, and I think to myself, "Oh, thank God there's a car coming. Maybe I'll get some help here."
He hit you.
So I hear this car coming from the other direction, from the opposite direction, and I'm like, okay, so yeah, I'll get some help here. This is good. This is what I hear. "You okay, bro?" As he passes me going like 60 miles an hour. So I got up and walked down the hill, got my bike, tried to get on it, but it was all busted. The wheels were screwed up and the brake lines had been disconnected. So I walked back up the hill and then walked 2 miles back to my house looking like I came out of a zombie movie.
Nice.
And then it was just like that too. It was like, "You okay, bro?"
That was worth the whole pod. You know what? That's gonna be the name of the podcast. Brawny Buck, King of LImbo, you okay, bro?
I looked like a mummy for 3 weeks. I had so many bandages and staples on me.
Okay. Alright, here's a goofy one. If a girl was trying to woo you, what dinner would she cook for Brawny Buck?
Lasagna.
Good man.
Yeah.
Lasagna is good.
Yeah? Alright, so we've got the way to get Keychi's heart. Got it. Let's see.
Next time we're at a con, we all gotta go get lasagna now.
Nice.
Well, no, screw that. If we find a place that has an oven, I'll make lasagna.
Oh, nice. Alright, I got 2 left that I feel are worth asking.
Okay.
Favorite kind of music, throw 3 bands at me.
Beatles.
Okay.
Gosh darn.
Yeah, you're not going to be tested on... Oh, that's not true. There'll be people in the comments going, "You like that?" So, yeah.
There's gonna be a quiz after this.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Okay.
And...
Polka.
Beethoven.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. If you... And this is the last one, folks, and you guys can butt in if you want afterwards. If you could be any time in history, what would it be?
I don't see much wrong with the present.
Okay.
To be totally honest. I think this is one of the better times to live, all things considered.
Yeah.
Indoor plumbing, technology. Yep, really hard to beat all that stuff.
Maybe a couple years earlier when things weren't so high tension.
I don't know. I really like my computer.
I've been into politics for a long time, so as far as I can tell, it's always been high tension. Eventually, you get used to it. You realize it's for the most part going to blow over, and if you pay relative attention to anything, you can nip as long as democracy actually is a thing, you can nip most problems before they happening.
Maybe a
Okay.
few years before North Korea was shooting missiles over Japan.
Well, I'll look at it this way. The best I had described to me is that everyone's a Nazi is this generation's satanic panic. It's the new bullshit.
I got a question for you, Brawny.
Okay.
Okay.
How do you feel about that net neutrality bullshit?
That comes up an awful lot, and let me see. I followed it a few times when I was into politics, and I haven't followed it nearly as closely this time because the definition of it keeps changing. The last time I saw it, it was about censorship, and you didn't want it because it was going to basically it was going to do exactly what they're saying the lack of it is going to do now, but in a more official context, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I know I jumbled my words a lot there, but I hope you understood what I was getting at.
No, I gotcha.
That's what it was the last time I saw it. Before that, it was some major Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment stuff where they would have the ability to read your electronic without any kind of warrant. Like you go to get on a plane, the TSA now has would have a machine that can scan your computer for music, and if you had downloaded any software illegally, then supposedly they would arrest you on the spot or something like that. That's what it was the time before that. And the time before that, it was something else entirely as well. So the net neutrality thing keeps changing, and
It's
this
like
time,
you'd have to be charged for certain things. Like if you wanted to go to a specific site, you'd have to pay more for your internet bill.
yeah.
Basically, it's something along the lines of they're going to be doing fast lanes and slow lanes, and they're free to like throttle the internet to websites they don't like or services they don't like, and make it faster for places that they do like and have deals with and stuff like that.
It's
Yeah,
bullshit.
which is nonsense. And the other stuff I mentioned was no good too. You know, say one of the other things I mentioned was true. I got to go through a scanner to check my phone, and if there's a text message or something they don't like, then they can pull me aside and question me about. No, forget that. I'm a huge, constitutionalist, and that is not okay.
Yeah.
Not allowed. Not
Pretty
in this
much,
house.
for the most part, most versions of the freaking net neutrality bills or whatever they're trying to pass through aren't good. Like, no, every time they bring it back, it's something different, but something bad.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, before it was you didn't want net neutrality because it was something different, and now you do. So I'm having a little bit of trouble wrapping my head around it. So for that reason, I don't have as much of an opinion. But if what you're saying is true, then that's definitely no good, and I definitely don't want that.
Yeah, no, like fucking you'd be charged more for a lot of shit. Like for international calling or like entertainment and specific shit, you could be charged more for it.
Yeah, for example,
That's what I'm getting.
Yeah, for example, if, I don't know, Verizon decided that they wanted to create their own video hosting service like YouTube, but not YouTube, they're like, okay, we're going to speed up everything related to our thing, but we're going to slow it down to people in our service that are going to YouTube. So people are going to be like, oh, YouTube is so slow, but this other thing is so fast. I'm going to go to this other thing.
Right. Well, I actually, about a half hour before we started this podcast, I saw something on Tumblr where they were talking about the net neutrality thing, and somebody had shared a screenshot that said that they couldn't reblog this thing about net neutrality. And so they're basically, the suspicion with this post is that they're already doing what you're saying that they're going to do outside of the law, but the powers that be are so confident that it's going to pass that they're just going ahead and doing what they're doing anyway.
Possibly.
Yeah, it's probable.
Either way, it sucks.
Yeah, we gotta enjoy it while we can.
Yep.
Yep.
Bronny, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
Pretty generic: flight or teleportation. One of the two.
Nice.
Yep.
Out of the sacred heroes in MLP that we see in the finale, which one do you personally like based on the history that you've heard about him?
Rockhoof and Meadowbrook. I can't decide between those two.
So Shovel Guy.
Yeah.
Shovel Guy and Flower Power.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like the idea of somebody gaining power through willpower, because I personally relate to that quite a bit.
Can't believe Brawny is One Punch Man.
And bald.
Trained so hard he went bald.
Yep. When I was training my hardest, I had really long, thick hair.
So so you did train so hard to went bald.
It was when I was. Fine, sure, we'll go with that. I'm not gonna...
Don't worry, Brawny. I've already got the artwork, and the person who did that one's going to be.
You're wrong, but I'm going to let you have it.
Okay.
Hey, people in the comments, someone draw Brawny Buck his freaking One Punch Man.
Yes, you will get an automatic interview with the cigarette for admission.
I get to be Genos.
Yes.
Edgy robots.
Yeah. But no, when I was training my hardest, I looked like Steven Seagal with a beard.
I wouldn't. You know what? Since you brought up Steven Seagal, what do you think about all the perversion that's going on in Hollywood right now?
I'm not surprised. I've known about it for forever.
I think everyone has. It's literally been plot points in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's now surfacing. What do you think about that?
Now it's popular.
Okay, if you're gonna ask me my opinion about it, this is what I think. I think it's no good that people are coming forward now, years and years after the fact, when I don't know how much about it can be done legally. Sexual assault is a huge thing for me.
Okay.
Because I know of quite a few victims. And it was part of the reason that I got into self-defense was because of those friends that are victims. So that was one of the first things I learned how to do, is how to prevent and how to punish that. And there's really only two things you can do. You can either defend yourself physically defend yourself in the situation, or if you are a victim, then you've got to come forward about it and go through the necessary channels right away. The more time you put in between when it happens and when you do something about it, the harder it is to prosecute.
Well, there is
these sexual predators to go to jail and spend the rest of their lives in jail or be executed, because I hate them that much. But it's going to be much harder to prove.
Well, again, I'm going to use words like "it is likely," because I'm not a practicing lawyer. If you can show a behavioral pattern, it extends the statute of limitations.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah, for example, if somebody had ripped, let's say you had ripped off the same store for 10 years on a regular basis, it's potentially unlikely that they can get you for all the stuff all the way back if you've continually done this as an ongoing pattern. Again, state by state, city by city, you have to actually check.
And when I was teaching self-defense, that's what I would tell people, is if somebody's wronging you to the point where you need to where it's becoming a physical matter, and they could be, and we'll just put it through the lens of sexual assault right now, it doesn't matter who they are. And I say that because that's the biggest factor in a lot of these cases, is all these women didn't retaliate because these were men of power and position that could affect their careers. Well, you've got to value yourself above your career, because then you're just gonna turn yourself into somebody's plaything. And it doesn't matter who they are; they're still just a person, and they are bound by the same objective morality as the rest of the universe. So if they're gonna come at you like that, then you have to physically defend yourself.
And the thing is, a lot of people are confusing or kind of grouping together sexual harassment and sexual assault. Both are wrong, but on two different levels. There are several stories that I've heard where ladies are like, oh, I went to the hotel room of this director. He showed himself to me. I didn't know what to do. And I'm just like, turn around and go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they say I tried to leave and he blocked the entrance. Punch him in the throat.
Yeah, there's the stories that were of someone who actually got, physically assaulted, that's totally different. But the ones where someone can where they can choose to remove themselves from that situation, I feel a little less sympathetic, because I'm just like, you could have gone away. And then there are those stories where they're like, oh, I went back another time, and I was like, so you didn't learn from the first time?
Right, and they went back alone as well,
Yeah.
which is just at a certain point, and I'm really treading light here because it's so easy to call victim shaming, but at a certain point, a common sense has to come in.
Yeah, like it's pretty much at some point you do have to have some common sense. Like what they're doing, not right at all. They should be fired and you know whatever. But you do have to be responsible for yourself to protect yourself.
Indeed.
Well, on that beautiful note.
What, did you invite Brawny to a podcast and expect it to be fun?
I don't know. I thought there were times where it was fun. I'm surprised
It keeps flip-flopping between fun and serious.
Yeah.
Would you like me to tell another funny story?
No, I think we're good. I think I got like an hour.
I'm gonna fall asleep.
All right, so I'm gonna hit stop, guys. I had a lovely time.